Okay, we're going to go into our first walkthrough, and to do this, I am going to leave the PowerPoint, and I am going to go into JamKazam, at which point I will not be able to hear Stephanie because I have a funky setting on my Windows box for my control of my sound. So I'm going to exit from this and go into JamKazam. Okay, so on the slide that you can no longer see, back here, you'll see that you have to create a login on the JamKazam website. Once you have created the login, you download the app and install it. And then when you click on the app, this is what you get. It looks very much like what you see on the website. So be sure that you are running the actual app and not the browser, and you can know that because it says JamKazam up in the title bar. So here we are in the JamKazam interface, and there are things you have to do first. So first you want to configure who you are and what your audio gear is. And so you can come in here to your profile and set that up. And I'm just going to hit next so that you can see what these elements of the profile are. And you can set up, of course, your name. You can set up what instruments you play and your level. That is information that is shown when you are in a session so that people know what instrument you're playing and what your level is. It also shows when people search for other musicians in JamKazam so they have a better idea of whether or not they need your particular instrument. And of course, more interests that you might have and more information about you. And I think that's pretty much it. It's long, but you don't have to fill out all of those things. And once you've done that, you have a profile. Great. And now a friend of mine just popped up. He's going to start playing in a session on JamKazam, and that's this person, Jong. And you can see that my friends Brian and Jong are both available, but these other people listed under my friends are not online at the moment. They are offline. So looks like Deborah is coming online, and I am not going to message Deborah. So friends of mine are actively using JamKazam as we're doing this, and but before you can use JamKazam, you need more than a profile. You need to understand your audio gear. And so for that, you need to come in here to your audio gear setup, and I'll click on that. And you can see that I have various configurations set up, but that one of them is active. And that's the one that's for my Behringer audio interface. If you need to add new gear, which you will want to do, even if you're just using your laptop, your Mac, you want to, the first time you're in here, you do want to add new gear because you need to understand your gear. You don't need to watch any videos on this, although you certainly can. You just click next, and you get to the screen that says select and test audio gear, and gives you little hints, which we're going to ignore for the moment, but it's giving you instructions. and it is going to ask me which input device I want to use. And I have a number of things installed on my computer, but I'm going to use my Behringer. If I didn't have any of the advanced and I only had the basic setup, I would use ASIO for all. I'm going to use the Behringer, and it does a little test. And it's saying, hey, green lights, my latency is good, and I can go on to the next thing. But before I do, I want to point out some things. Even if you get yellow here, meaning, all right, it could be better, but it's acceptable. And this next button won't be highlighted unless this is acceptable. If these are red, it will not be acceptable. You're going to have to go back and either choose different gear, or you're going to have to modify, if you're on Windows, your ASIO settings. Here's my Behringer ASIO settings, and you want to make sure you're at 48 kilohertz, and you want as high speed a connection as you can get out of your computer. If I change high speed to normal, notice this changed and my latency is now much worse. So I'm going to go back to high speed and watch this change again. My latency is really great from me to me. So we can close that. And at that point, if I wanted to redo the test, I can hit this Resync button. This frame size is also very important. That is a factor in your latency. You generally want it to be 2, 2.5, if you can get it that low. But if you're hearing a lot of noise and crunchy sounds, you might have to make it higher. Go to next. You can set up additional tracks. I have only one instrument. I don't need any more tracks. And if I was playing guitar and singing along, I would probably want a microphone for my voice and a microphone for my instrument. I am not doing any of that, so I'm going to go hit next, and you get to this little turn off direct monitoring. Microphones, not the built-in ones, but the microphone that you purchase, like a condenser mic, has the ability so that you can hear the sound directly back into your headphones without it making any kind of internet journey. But then you're not hearing it in time with all of your mates. So you want to turn that off, and you want to hit the little play button so that you can test that everything is working, and then hit save. Fabulous. Close that out. And now I can go back home. I'm back to my main screen in JamKazam. I need to find some people to play with. I could go and invite some of my friends. I could look for a public session by clicking on the big box that says Find Session, and I can see that yeah, one of my friends is playing, and I could ask to join his session. I'm not going to crash his session, though. I could also look for public jams that are occurring right now, and these are some that are occurring, and I could ask to join those. And I can look for ones that are scheduled in advance to be on at another time or date. And usually there's a description, and you can set all of that up when you schedule these things. But right now, going back to home, I want to create a session. And I want to, first thing I do after setting up my audio gear, I want to do a solo session, just me, so I can make sure I can hear my own sound and that all my indicator lights are looking good. And so there are multiple columns in this session window. The one on the left is your audio inputs. What sound am I sending to the other people? And I can control the volume of that sound by clicking on this volume icon and changing this slider. So I can send less sound to them, or I can send more sound to them. And generally you just want it to be right in the middle. And then I'll close that. You can also mute yourself completely, but I don't want to do that. There is the ability to pan left and right in your headsets, in your headphones. I'm not doing that. So I'm going to close that. And notice that as I hover over things, these informational or setting windows just open. I don't actually even have to click. And so I can hover over this dot, which could be green if all of the latency and everything is great. It could be yellow if it's marginal, or red if it's really not very good at all. And in fact, it might change color as you go through your session, as there's more internet traffic, as people join you, all these different factors, as somebody at home starts to stream video or play video games. But you can see I'm doing pretty well in terms of all of these indicators. And if I'm not sure what they are, I can roll over them, and this box to the right will explain them to me. And you see there, it went from green to yellow as we were speaking and back again. So fortunate to see that. The next column, the personal mix, is how you are hearing the other musicians and yourself. And so same volume control, the same left, right, and the same kinds of information about the latency. Now let's say I want to now say, yeah, that's pretty good. I could hear myself. Everything seemed pretty good. I want to invite somebody else to play with me. So I can go to invite musicians, and they don't have to be friends, but it's easier if they already are. And I could invite one of my friends to play with me. You know, I don't see the friend I want. I want to play with Stephanie. So how do I add Stephanie as a friend? I go to the blue box on the right, and I go to friends, and she's not a friend already, so let me search for her. Stephanie. Oh, there are lots of Stephanies. I'll need her last name. I don't even have to type all of it, and then I can send Stephanie an invitation to connect with me as a friend. This connect is different from inviting musicians to join your session. This time I'm just inviting her to be my friend. This is the social aspect of JamKazam. So I have sent an invitation to Stephanie, and I can now go down here to notifications, and I can see all kinds of notifications of things that have happened. There's a chat window. I could chat with other people either globally or in my session. I'm not doing either of those at the moment. So now if I go to invite musicians and choose friends, if Stephanie has accepted, which she may not have yet, I can invite someone to play with me. And I'm just going to invite my friend Jeff in Canada, because I know he's not on JamKazam. And I click invite. And that sends an invitation to Jeff. And if he was online and available, he would see that invitation right on his screen here. He's offline, so he will get an email from me saying that he's been invited to join. And he can then come in and join this session. So at this point, I think I just want to point out a few other things here in JamKazam. This button here, this Resync button, that's a really important button. Sometimes with jitter and other factors on your CPU or on the internet, things get a little bit out of sync. And if you want to bring it back to a baseline syncing, you can click this button. You will hear the sound blank out for a second and then come back. And now I'm green again. So what other things can I do that in JamKazam that are useful? Well, if I want to record, I can click this button. I have never done that, but it's a very convenient way to record. And in fact, if I want to see other musicians while I'm playing and they can see me, I can turn on this video. I am not going to do that because I think I'll screw up Zoom. And frankly, I don't find it that useful. Part of that is my inability to do multiple things at one time. So my head is over here looking at my music stand. And to see the video, I have to look like this. I have to keep turning back and forth. I find that very disturbing. So I'd rather just focus on the music and just let that stream of notes keep going. However, there might be times that you want that video. I'm going to show you that up here in the very upper left, and this is on Windows, on Mac, it would be in your Apple bar where you see the application name. It would be, I think, to the right of the application name. You would see Manage. The same for some of these other menus on the Mac are placed a little differently, but their content is the same. So if I click Manage, there are a lot of more advanced things that I can do to adjust the quality of my sound, the quality of my video, the mix that I have with other people. I can even broadcast my sound to YouTube. I'm not going to do these things now. They are pretty advanced. I am going to show you the audio settings, that there is the streaming console, which allows me to see for each person that I'm playing with this information. I'm going to point out this this compression. So that's another little thing to remember for audio quality. Compressed audio will go over the internet speedier, but it won't have as full a quality of sound, which for string players is often very important, I imagine, for all classical musicians. So if you want that full quality of sound, you can uncheck this. If you don't care and you want to go for latency, you can check it. I mean, you can check that, and then things will be a little faster. You'll have a little lower latency. So there's more up here in Manage, but I think we're going to just call it at that.